Good morning to Dan Lawless. Dan, I know I've been in this situation. I know how you're feeling. It is hard. How hard is this for you to take?
Yeah, it's really tough to take. It still hurts, it's still quite raw, the feelings. You're in that relegation battle when you're mentally sort of prepared of the possibility of going down, but until it actually happens, when that final whistle goes, is when the realization comes that yeah, your club is relegated and there's scary times ahead for West Ham, a lot of uncertainty and a lot of just sadness about where we are as a football club. It's really is a dark day for West Ham.
Dark day, yeah, and understand how hard this will be for you to go down. But you said there were some scary times ahead. What are you scared that might happen this summer?
Well, we're going to have massive player sales. We're going to lose a lot of players. I think it's been reported we have to raise around 150 million in sales. We're in deep, deep debt. So with the financial turmoil the club is in, it's a worry now that with so many players going out, where we've failed in recruitment season after season, can we trust that we're going to get the recruitment right while we're in the championship, whether that players and manager? And you look at clubs like Leicester and you think, could that be West Ham? Because I don't trust the ownership to get that recruitment right. If you think some clubs can keep their top players and bounce back up and for a season, but we can't financially, we just have to get rid of them. So it is worrying and there's a lack of trust.
Who are you resigned to definitely losing out of that playing staff? And also, what do you think about your manager?
So first I'll go to the players. I think Mateus Fernandes will definitely go. He's highly rated by a lot of clubs. I think Somerville, who has been one of the bright sparks in the past few months, even though the goals sort of dried up performance-wise, I think he'll definitely go. I think Mavropanos, who's been brilliant, I think he's probably going to go. There's some sort of hope that Bowen might stay unless the club sell him. He's given some positive noises, but that's just hope at the moment. He's going to really be a player that clubs want, especially someone like Liverpool with Salah leaving. He's sort of perfect for that slot. So worried he could go. And yeah, I think obviously Disasi's been good. He'll go back. As far as Nuno goes, I said it on this show last week. I cannot wait to see the back of the man. There's been a lot of reports coming out today about Nuno, about how he's been behind the scenes, telling coaching staff he don't trust them, isolating players that aren't in his plans in the starting 11, being just very all-round frosty. Players not really enjoying his pre-match preparations. He's insistent to sign someone like Pablo, who had a hamstring injury at the time that we signed him. There's been a lot coming out now about Nuno, and I just never liked his approach to games. We were 2 points from safety when he took over in September. We're in the exact same place now, and he's thrown away so many games. We had that little run after the January transfer window, but before that, there were games that he just decided to experiment in. When you're coming in and trying to take over a club that's fighting to keep up, you don't do that. You try to go back to basics.
39 points is normally enough, though. In fact, that would be comfortably keeping you up. So he hasn't been that bad. But OK, you want to see the back of him. You've made that very clear. Who would you want to come in? Who is going to get you back up?
It's a real tough one because when we look down to the Championship, we're being heavily linked with Scott Parker. We have to be realistic about who we can get. We're not going to get the big names. Someone like Scott Parker knows the league well. He'll get us up. But the worry is a manager like Scott Parker, he's probably not going to keep you up. So you get a manager that gets you up, and then you stick with him because you think he's earned it, and then you go a few months down the line, and we have to sack him and start again. I wouldn't mind trying to get a player that knows the club, that is a young, hungry manager like Craig Bellamy, if we can get him after the World Cup. Someone like that who's got a little bit of fire about him. Someone the fans can get behind. But it'll probably be someone, again, like Parker or Dyche. I'm kind of resigned to that. And the hope is that maybe Sullivan will sell now, and then we can try to be ambitious and rebuild. But as it is, it will just be the easy, freebie, cheap option.
I think you've got more chance of Sullivan selling in the Premier League than in the Championship. I think that's what Tottenham were hoping. You know, they were thinking, well, I heard a lot of Tottenham fans saying, oh, maybe they will sell the club now if they got relegated. That might be a blessing in disguise. No, there's no chance. There's no chance. The value of the club's gone down. They will have one push to get into the Premier League again and then decide they need to sell.
We've got a voice note here from Rob. Let's see what he's had to say.
West Ham United, who on earth in that club is making the decisions? How do you qualify for the Conference League, then go and win it the following season, then get rid of David Moyes? Cannot believe it. David Moyes now must be having a quiet little snigger to himself. You've reaped what you've sowed, West Ham, pay for it.
So he's going back to sacking David Moyes as being one of the triggers for this. Do you agree with that?
No, I mean, it just seems to be this general view of people that aren't really informed on everything that's gone on at West Ham, because we didn't sack David Moyes. They could not agree a deal because they changed his job role. They wanted him to be go from being a manager to a head coach, and they brought in a director of football. Moyes didn't want to change his job role. He wouldn't sign the new contract for that new job role, and they couldn't agree, and they went their separate ways. It's what happened after David Moyes, because let's be honest, like, David Moyes was not going to manage West Ham forever. You know, do we just have to think, oh, do you know what? I hope David Moyes lives to 100 and he can keep managing us, because what are we going to do if we get rid of him? It's Lopetegui, it's that appointment, it's the recruitment, it's Graham Potter, it's Nuno. Why do we have to look at Bournemouth? Bournemouth don't have David Moyes. How on earth have they got European football without David Moyes?
Yeah.
You know, how has Sunderland done it? How's Brighton done it? You know, why do we have to look at these clubs that, no disrespect, have smaller fan bases than West Ham, smaller stadiums, go and play better football and achieve success? Palace have won the FA Cup, are about to potentially win the Conference League, what we won, and have back-to-back European football without David Moyes. Why is it all on David Moyes and not how the club's run, the structure, everything going on? We're a badly run football club. That's it. Yeah. That's all that should be focused on. Badly run club.
I think
that's why we're in.
Dan, you're going to have to rely heavily on your academy now, I think, you know, for a lot of players to make up your squad, you know, and get them players sold, recruit some money, spend that money wisely on some experienced players who are going to help the academy boys. I just think go back to the old days of the academy at West Ham, which was unbelievably good.
I think that's one of the sort of things that gives West Ham fans a little bit of hope, because, you know, we've always loved to see academy players coming through. We've always been proud of that title, the Academy of Football. We love to see it, and we started to see some players coming through under Potter, to give him some credit. You know, the likes of Freddie Potts, Ollie Scholes. We've seen Kante a little bit under Nuno. You know, there's players there in the academy that we're excited to see more of, and hope we can actually start to see them starting week in, week out and really step up. So that's one of the sort of things I can look forward to, is hoping that we'll see some academy players mixed in with some experienced and quality players, and they'll get the chance they want and can be the players that help us get up and really step up. And we can go back to being that club we can identify with, seeing our own, you know, wearing the claret and blue.
Tim, is it ridiculous to think that Jarrod Bowen might stay? He will be wanted by everybody, but in England, we turn our nose up at someone at the age of 29. They don't want to spend big money on someone who's 29 years old, which is a bit unfair, but it's just the truth.
He's a guaranteed.
Could Bowen stay?
He's a guaranteed performer, isn't he, in the Premier League? So I think there'll be a lot of clubs who want to take Jarrod Bowen. If you're a footballer, you want to play at the highest level. I think I'd be interested to know what Dan thinks. Is it just the Danny Dyer, his wife? Is it just that, you know, what you feel there's hope of keeping him at the club?
Well, look, he is settled where he is. It depends, isn't it? Because if it's maybe a Chelsea or a London club, maybe it's a little bit of an easier thing, because he hasn't got to uproot his family and move to the other side of the country. However, you know, he said in his post-match interview, and look, you've got to take everything players say at the moment with a grain of salt, but he did say he's focused on getting the club back to where it belongs, in the Champions League. Not Champions League, sorry, that's a dream. In the Premier League. So he's focused on that, and he's a good character. He loves the football club, and I remember he saying being a captain was one of the proudest honours of being a captain for West Ham. So I think it'd be one of them cases where he's not going to break the door down, put a transfer request in tomorrow, but it doesn't mean he's definitely staying. But I think he's a class act, and I think if we really asked him to stay, I think he would be willing to stay. So I would say there's a 60% chance he'll leave, but he gave encouraging signs in that post-match interview, as much as I take it with a grain of salt. Okay. So I just hope, because we need someone like that. You need that player that's too. We had Kevin Nolan drop down for us last time, was in the Championship. Carlton Cole stayed. You need some of them big players that are too good for the Championship to carry you out of it, because it's a tough league, a lot of competition.
You had a manager who was too good for the Championship there as well, in Sam Allardyce. Okay, Dan, thank you.
Thanks, Dan.
Cheers, guys.